So yes, so today we it's our filmmaking workshop and to be going through script writing in filmmaking. So we'll be looking at different what screenwriting is in filmmaking, the process of writing a script, how to, develop a concept, character, a conflict in a story, and we'll also be having speakers who will be speaking on those areas. And like I said, we have like additional speakers or who would for our first speaker will take the first session, then we'll have a break, and we can also use that break to also ask questions. And then after the break, we'll have our second session. We will be taken by our second speaker. Then we'll have a practical session where you'll be actually producing something based on what you were taught. Then we'll have a wrap up from there. Also, we'll leave room for questions and answers after dinner as well. If there's any questions that need to be asked to our speakers. Um, quickly to obviously most people already know who I am, as I've also shared in previous workshops and also our festival, that I'm into 3D animation and also modeling, and I studied animation in university. I do graphic design, video editing, content creation, so different kind of creative work, and also founded Kehillah Studios in March. I started in March, but I've been developing it since last year before starting, and we're now over 300 African creatives in the community on WhatsApp, and it's pretty much for Black races in Manchester, in the United Kingdom, also in Nigeria, to have a growing community among African creatives where people can network, where people can develop their skills through workshops such as this, and also find out opportunities available for them. So I've already gone through this many times. The sort of vision is to empower African creatives who will bring African stories to global stage through animation, film, and design, both home and abroad. So, and this is the purpose to also establish a community across the UK and particularly Nigeria, where opportunities for Black race are shared and where people can gain more knowledge about the creative industry and where we can raise more Africans having interest in the creative industry. So our speaker who will take the first session is Amos, and he's the visionary coordinator behind the Amos Jam movement, an initiative that strives to elevate the standards of Christian drama to a level of professionalism. Through workshops, training sessions, and commitment to artistic excellence, Amos Drum has become a driving force, inspiring a new generation of faith-based creatives to hone their craft and deliver impactful narratives. Amos' expertise spans the entire spectrum of filmmaking and theatrical arts. As a director, he has helmed over 20 stage plays, each a testament to his ability to craft compelling narratives that resonate with audiences. Beyond the stage, Amos has ventured into the world of cinema, directing over 5 movies, as well as producing spoken word and music videos. So yeah, before handing over to him. Like I said, there's a second speaker as well who I'll introduce before he starts his own session. But for now, that is Amos who will be taking over our first session. So I think I'll hand over to you now to start.
Okay, thank you so much, so much. Um, Let me turn my video. If you can see me. Hello, everyone. Um, I believe everyone can hear me. I need to be sure, please. Hello, can everyone hear me, please?
Yeah, I can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. I want to say a very big thank you to my host and the founder of the Kehillah Studios. I want to say thank you for all you're doing. It's a way to impact lives and impact generation. Knowledge is growth. Nobody scale any height in life without adding knowledge. And one thing that helps us to be firm in the area of professionalism in what we do is the amount of knowledge we have gathered. And I trust God that this meeting will not just be like one of those, but it will be an impactful one that will transform our lives, it will shape our idea for storytelling, having to help us have proper narrative. Many people have ideas, but breaking it down is the challenge. We have different scripts out there, but would have been better, the movies would have been better if the structures were properly placed and fixed. We trust God today to help us. So thank you so much. So like host have said, I will not be the only one talking throughout this session. I have someone in the house also who will be introduced when it's time. I'm like she has said, my name is Amos. I'm a filmmaker, and that's all. And I'm also a kingdom demonstrator. And like I do, we have to pray before we proceed. I don't know if that's fine. Father, in the name of Jesus, King of Kings, faithful God, reliable Father, we appreciate you for the privilege you have given to us. Thank you for this platform to be able to add value, to be able to add knowledge. We ask, oh Lord, in between all of the teachings, we ask that you yourself will teach us. Grant us speed, grant us access to the right knowledge. Let your presence communicate with us. Thank you because you know you have heard us. At the end of this meeting, we ask, oh Lord, that will be shaping and the knowledge, the true knowledge, to help us to be effective in the area of script writing will be released. Thank you, Jesus. For in Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Okay, quickly. I don't know if everyone in the house are script writers. I want to believe if we are newcomers or we have been writing scripts, so that will help me to be able to dive properly into what I have on ground. The topics are enormous. There are plenty. It's not something I think we can what's it called? We can do it. We can finish up in the next 3 hours. But we trust God to help me to fast forward briefly so that we can be able to get the core of what we're doing. So we're talking about script writing. Majorly, we're talking about screenwriting. I want us to understand that firstly, you must understand what you need as a script writer. I want to speak to us before going to what I have on ground. You must be intentional. It must be what you love as a script writer. It's a face of filmmaking. It's a face. So it is not a by the way stuff like I can handle camera. Yeah, I'm a makeup artist. I like filmmaking. Then I think script writing is just by the way. No, it has to be something you invest your time in. It has to be full of passion. Have something that is that you're driven to do. There must be an inner passion to do it because this will help you to be able to do proper research and get proper product out of what you think. I believe we can all hear me. So why I'm saying all of those things is to prepare our mind that script writing is not what you just work over passively. Script writing is not just what you just want to do because you think I just have a story I want to do. It must be something that you're passionate about, so that you can be able to go through all the rigorous processes to be able to get the best. Like I said initially, many movies would have been better if the process of script writing were properly taken care of. So I want to say this quickly before I go into what script writing is. Today we're measuring on screenwriting. So script writing, you must understand three things, a basic fundamental element that makes a great script. You can jot this down as you're listening to me. You must have a strong story concept. You must have a strong story concept. I'm giving you a general overview. Secondly, you must have an engaging character. We are going to get to that at the bottom line. You must have an engaging character. Thirdly, you must have a clear plot lines. A clear plot lines. If these three things are intact, you have a wonderful and a great script. But you see, these three processes, you can't have the best of it if you are not intentional. Yes, there will be sleepless nights. There will be time where you have to go and do research. There will be time where you just do a draft to share with someone. I want to hear their take about what you have done. So the final work of having to have a professional script is not connected to a lazy person. It's a man or a woman who is ready to spend their time, their what's it called now? Their passion on trying to get the best out there. It's not an adventure where you want to do the right because you want to compete. No, It is a way it is done. You're talking about filmmaking. Film were made. It has to be made. So there are processes that are involved. I'm doing all of these things so that we prepare our minds that we're not just here because we just want to learn passively, but because we are really interested. I really want to do better in what you have been doing. So, like I said, you have to have a strong story concept, an engaging character, and a clear plot lines. Clear plot lines. It must be open. It must be clear. So, quickly, what is script writing? Script writing. I want to do script writing before I talk about screenwriting because every creative work needs scripts. That's the truth. It's a written guideline. It's a written guideline for 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 the persons who are involved in that creative process. So you must understand why you need a script for any creative work. The white man says a short pen is better than a large memory. What you have written down, it will help you to have a format on what you want to run with. Very important. So a script is a written document, like I said, that outlines the story, the dialogue, actions for the production. So that's a script, either for a play, a theater play, or for movie, or for TV shows. It's a written document. It outlines the story, the dialogue, and the actions. Either you're writing a storybook, either you're writing a poem, either you're writing a poem, either you're trying to write a theater production script. They are all scripts, but it has to be written because it gives a general overview of what the entire adventure is all about. So that is a script writing. Now, when we want to measure on screenwriting, screenwriting is the crafting of scripts specifically for films and for TV shows and other visual media works. I will say that again. Screenwriting, I will say that again so that we can get it better. Please, if I'm too fast, please draw me backward. The reason why I'm like this is because I want you to, we have a lot to cover. Very important. So, screenwriting, like I said, it's a specific script crafted for the film, TV shows, and other visual media works. So it's essentially is a script written for the screen. So when it's a script written for the screen, there's a way it must be done. So the first session I'm taking now is going to be talking about how you can what you do before taking it to the screen. Many people they major more on script format than script composition. Yes, script format can be done by anybody. You can just go through it and then you follow the procedures and get it done. But script composition is the one that gives your script uniqueness and makes people attracted to your script. Don't forget that when you're writing your script, you are writing for the audience, you're writing for the character, that's for the actors, and you are also writing for the crew. Yes, you're writing for the audience because one thing that push you that wants to make you to write a script for a movie is because there's a message you want to send to the audience. Either someone contracted you to write a story or to write a script. The target is the audience. You understand? So you also need to understand that the script also is for the actors. An actor should be able to get the script and get everything about what the story is all about, what is expected of him or her. No, sometimes you open it up to actually allow room for improvisation. I'm talking about your dialogue now. So that you don't put all the actors in a box. You understand? And also you do that to also create space for directors and other crew members. So you must understand that when you're writing your script, it is needed for the audience. You're expecting the audience to consume what you're writing. Secondly, you're expecting the actors to be able to run. It's an explicit overview of what is expected of the actor in the production and also what is expected of the crew members. So now, a screenwriting, like I said, in case anybody's writing, I'm going to say it again, is an art of crafting scripts for films, TV shows, and other visual works. Yes, that's a screenwriting because you're writing it for the screen. Yes, it's a form of storytelling that is specifically designed for visual media. Screenwriting is a special kind of story that is specially designed for the visual media. It has to be from the actor to the camera to the screen. So what kind of screenwriting do we have? We can write script for music video. Yes, write script for music video. Just to give a clear picture of what's expected of everyone coming on the production. So very much important. So the next thing I'll be going to right now, because I need to be fast, there are many things to be done. I still want to follow what is given here. Why screenwriter matters in filmmaking? Very much important. Why screenwriting matters in screenwriting? Very important. In why screenwriting matters in filmmaking? Sorry. Like I said, screenwriting is essential to filmmaking because the script serves as a fundamental blueprint. Fundamental blueprint. For example, there is a man called the father of Nollywood in Nigeria. He's called Albert Ogunde. Yes, he was the one that started drama in Nigeria. Now, if I want to write a story about him, or I want to tell brief history about how he lived, his adventure in stage drama while he was alive, the first thing I'm going to get is to get a literature material of his biography, of his history, everything. So once I get that literature material, it's going to guide me through the journey. So it's the first thing I'm going to do, not just the what is it called now? Not just someone telling me the story. So I have to get the full history written down. So that will help me to be able to draft things out to be able to tell the story. So what am I saying? Why does screenwriting matters to filmmaking? Because it is the core of filmmaking. It is the blueprint of filmmaking for the entire production process. If the script is not there, there is no film production. It is the foundation. So you get the idea. I want to write a film about the little children. The first thing I do is to get a story about them. So after getting the story, I need to write them. So it is transferring of your ideas to the paper so that people that are involved in that story can read through and be able to manifest what's in the script. So first, we must understand that screenwriting is essential to filmmaking because it is the foundational blueprint for the entire process. It guides directors, actors, and crew members in bringing a cohesive story to life. A cohesive story to life. It guides directors, actors, and crew members in bringing cohesive story to life. So screenwriting is not just about telling the story. It also features on guidance on what is expected of the director, what is expected of the crew members. It is the script that makes the artistic personnel to know what to do in the production. When you are hiring a makeup artist or a costumier, it is the script you send to them first. So they outline the cast, then check the kind of costume that will be needed. If it's a production that needs what's it called now? A set design. For example, maybe you're having an epic production and you need a set design. The set designer, we get to know the set design that is required for that production through the script. So in other words, as a scriptwriter, you must have depth in the kind of story you want to tell. Because it's beyond character, it's beyond dialogue. It's more of trying to explain everything about the story. I'm trying to make sure I explain to us that script writing is beyond writing dialogues, characters, but you also write guidelines for cameramen, which is part of a crew member, and also for maybe the potential investors. I'm going somewhere. So quickly, like I said, is a foundational blueprint. A foundational blueprint for entire production. That's why it matters. You need to understand this clearly. So number two, you must understand it is a structural roadmap. A well-structured screenplay provides a clear beginning, middle, and end. It is a structural roadmap. A clear beginning, the middle, and an end. Every narration, don't forget that the normal story is a complete narration. Every story must be complete. When we get to the plot structures and the story, the three-act structure, you get to understand it. There are movies that I watch, they start well, at the middle is wonderful. We saw the suspense, but in resolution, would they find it difficult to fix what the audience expects? It is fiction, we know, but there are rules attached to digesting stories. So I want us to understand that you must understand that script writing is needed in filmmaking because it's also a structural roadmap. A well-structured script provides a clear beginning, a middle, and end. It has to be clean. Your protagonist, when he's starting his journey, we are going to get to the bottom line. You need to get to a place where he faces an obstacle, where he's facing the obstacle, he's trying to get a way out of the obstacle, because maybe the antagonist is there. It depends on the kind of conflict that is involved in, and from there, we need to get to see him win the battle at the end, except if the journey is still continuing in the next episode. But you don't end a narrative by ending it with suspense. No, you don't do that. You have to provide a solution. It has to have a middle, a beginning, the middle, and an end. That's why it's a now. Let me tell you this: no story in life has a specific place to start. Yes, and no story in life has a specific place to end. You always start where you want to start and end it. That's why they tell you that every story has a backstory. Every story has a backstory. And the way you know that the story has a backstory is based on the character development. So you help a character to be an actor to be able to perform well in his character regalia by telling them the backstory of the character. So this will inform them, on what is expected of them, why they act the way they do, who are they, what's the background information, what led to where they are now, because you're starting the story where you want to start it. So every story must have the beginning, the middle, and an end. I don't know if anybody's writing. The first I said the foundational blueprint, the second is the structural roadmap. The third is the character development. Screenwriting matters to filmmaking because it is the character development. Screenwriters create complex, multi-dimensional characters with distinct motivations. You are going to create characters that have distinct motivations. So in the general overview of what a film is all about, it is the revealing of a specific character, which we always call the protagonist. That unique thing that makes them different in the midst of other characters. We have the protagonist, we have the antagonist, and we have the subordinate characters. But you have to make sure that your scripts express clearly are distinct motivations for all your characters. It also produces a character arc. Character arc is how your character moves from one level to another. Someone who was once happy, moving from that level of being happy to being sad, and trying to still balance the atmosphere. The audience don't get lost. For example, I don't know, for some of us who have watched A Tribe Called Judah, I like using that film as an example. You see where the woman started admitting either her fault or her situation as a woman who gave birth to children for 5 different men. But in between, tragedy begins. The next thing we get to understand is that she has an internal injury, a cancer. And you see how she was able to maintain the flow from who initially she was to the person who now have pain. So if you're a kind of person who is watching that film and you discover that you're not happy with her being prideful of a situation, being comfortable with that situation because she has nothing to do about it. You also be pathetic, as time goes on, seeing her facing challenges that made our children to begin to run at us together. You see, the way they express actions in that movie, the way they dissolve things in that movie makes me love storytelling so much. So the character art was so explicit from the normal woman who is everywhere trying to make sure that things work out for our children, getting to a place where she had to be the one to be hospitalized for her children to find a way to help her. So it is a character arc dissolving from one level of character to another, not creating space. People must not, just like on stage, there's what we call the fourth wall. On stage, your audience must not know that you are acting. So if you're on stage at every level, audience must believe you. So there must not be room that for them to know that this person is even acting, is not even doing it well. Once that is seen, you have lost the audience. Don't forget, I said you're writing script, you're writing a story for the audience, for the actors, and also for the crew members. So audience are the first thing, the viewers are the first reason why you want to tell the story. You want to pass an idea, you want to tell what has happened. It is informative. So for them to receive it, it has to be told properly. So like I said, the third is character development. Very important. There is no time. Number 4, it guides all departments. I need to be very fast now. It guides all departments. The screenplay is used by every department during production planning. Like I said initially, we have different departments in filmmaking. We have the people who are in charge of the principal photography, talking about the DOPs, talking about, we also have the light guys, we have the, we have the sound guys, we have the makeup artists, we have the set designer, we have the, we have the costume designer. It is the production that determines how they design the costume. We also have the costumier herself. So it is the script, right? It is the script that also guides all departments in filmmaking. Why I'm emphasizing this, so that you understand that when you're writing script, you're not just writing script for people to act. It has to be open. It's a comprehensive framework of what a production should look like for filmmaking. So the director should be able to see what is expected of him. The cameraman should be able to see. You must understand camera angles. These are the things how you want to open up your scenes. This will help post-production personnel to know what to do. It guides all departments. The screenplay is used by every department during production planning. We have 5 stages of production of filmmaking. So I wouldn't want to go into that because we are coming to that fully. So quickly, the 5th one is emotional impact. Why screenwriting matters to filmmaking. Emotional impact. Through compelling narrative and authentic dialogue, screenwriting has the power to evoke a wide range of emotions and provide a cathartic experience for the audience. You see, there's what is called empathy, the ability for a performer, or an actor to send their emotions to their viewers or to the audience and hold it back. That is when you get the attention of the audience. So the emotion has to be passed from the storytellers to the listeners or to the viewers. If they do not get the emotion, then you have lost them. I was in the cinema a few months ago to watch Everybody Loves Jennifer. For the first time, I had to go to the cinema to go and watch our own film. I've always watched a film online. And I was not disappointed because I love the way she tells her story. What I was expecting, you see, at the point of, I will get that, I will get to that place so that our script writers can understand what is more important in script writing. AI has made it so easy for many people. Just the way you want to have the story, just write it there, write the prompt, and say AI, and say, give me this, a script about this story, this, and before they give it to you, then you publish it. I want to shoot it. You make it difficult for directors because you are writing what even you yourself you can't explain because you don't go through all these processes. We did not go through the brainstorming processes just to craft something that can be that attractive to the audience, something that audience can really understand. Too much fictions, it is not connected. We get to conventions, we get to genres, so that you understand why you need to understand these things. So, like I said, emotional impact, very, very important. Through compelling narratives and authentic dialogue, screenwriting has the power to evoke a wide range of emotions. When we watch Everybody Love Jennifer, many people unknowingly they began to cry, because of the empathy. She was able to maintain the character arc. So it is important that you understand why we need screenwriting for filmmaking. Very important. The last one here is that it facilitates collaboration. Sorry, it facilitates collaboration. Filmmaking is an extensive collaborative artwork. Don't forget, the script acts as a universal language for the diverse team involved. Yes, the script is the goal. Everybody coming on that production use the script as a yardstick for execution. So whoever that, even as investors, if they want to invest in your production, the first thing they demand for is the script. Let me see the script. They want to see if the script is going to fly. The next thing they ask you, what are the kind of people you're planning to bring on the story? Me, sometimes I don't just think about, I'm not just after the kind of people that act the production, act the movie. I'm after the type of story you tell. No matter how popular are the actors in the production, if the story is not wonderful, forget it. Not all actors take every script, because not all story they want to tell. There are stories that makes you proud that I'm the one telling the story. When you watch what's the name of this is it this fella Nikolakpo Kuti, I think the wife. The wife, they told the story of the wife, and you saw that the lady, that movie gave her an award, and she was happy telling the story because it is an history that many people are not aware of. That many people are not aware of. So it is bringing is bringing up a history, and also making people to be informed about what has happened many years ago. Like, some things are happening now. In few years coming, people will be doing movies about them, just to inform people of what has happened before now. So it facilitates collaboration. You must understand that the script itself is the blueprint of what the production is expected to be. So every crew members, they look forward to that script to be able to achieve all that is written in there. I will say it again, for it facilitates collaboration. So filmmaking, like I said, is an extensive collaborative work. You must know. The script acts as a universal language for the diverse team involved. All we are pushing forward to achieve is what is written in the script. So it is important that you write a proper script for filmmaking, because it's going to act as a guide for everyone involved in that production, from the director to the producer to the actors and cinematographers. Don't forget that. Allowing them to work together to realize a shared vision. The script is the blueprint of what the vision is all about. So when a producer wants to do a production, the first thing he does is to contact who need to write a script. If you need to take what's it called, permission to use somebody's story, you have to contact whoever that has that story, take the permission. Then when the story is done, because we have different type of story, we have fiction, we have non-fiction. Fiction talks about make believe. Non-fiction is a true life story. Because we also have different type of story. So there's no time, when we get there, we'll dissolve that. So you must understand why script writing is important to the filmmaking. So okay, let me say this, very important. Let me add this. I'm trying to run. Let me add this. It is also important because it helps financial and logistic planning. Financial and logistic planning. I will say this here. Many people write scripts. I've been able. A pastor sent a script to me a few months ago, and he wants to shoot it. It's a short script, But in that short script, we have airport, a plane landing in that script. And I began to imagine, how do you want to achieve you having a plane and being an airport? This is a script with no budget. Not even saying low budget. No budget. We execute from trusting God. You see? So that's why if you're a contractor, maybe you're a person who is contracted to write a script. The first thing you must do, you must ask the owner of that production, because most of the producers does not write scripts. They get the story sometimes and contact script writers. So they need to guide you on what is available to be able to tell the script. Like for me, there is no matter how complex is the script, I can reduce the budget to minimum, to the barest minimum. Yes, it is your story. That's why you must know how to navigate different ways to be able to tell the story. What is important is that the story is told. One of our short films, thank God my brother is in one of our short films that won award in UK. When I told somebody, let me use in dollar, I'm not sure we spent up to $100 to shoot that short film. Why? We did not rent the location. We had to use relations to get locations. Even the costumes that we use and the school we use relationship to get them. We use that to reduce costs. So what am I trying to say? See, it helps your financial and logistic planning. So in the script, it tells you how the budget should go. Yes. If you're going to be having a location that you have to pay for, like an hotel, you don't always, in these days, you don't always have access to people's houses. Yes, you have to, the B&B, M&B, or what they call them now, in Lagos and different places where you rent for your production. And some of the locations, sometimes, like for me now, when I want to reduce budget in filmmaking, what I do is to do less of interior scenes. Interior scenes will attract more usage of light, and there's no way you cannot maneuver it. So these are the work of script writers. Sometimes we have many scripts we still there, many script that is there that has not been shot. Why? Because the money they need to execute that project, they can't get it. So you can reduce your budget by the type of things that is connected to the story. In that film I told you, we only had one interior scene in this film that I told you that I want UK. One interior scene. I had to remove all the one that needs light, and all the interior scene we did not use light. One interior scene, and that interior scene we did not use light, because I know I do not have money to go and rent light. So I made everything exterior. Create a situation where that story can still be told outside. So as a scriptwriter, you must be intentional to the level where you want to make sure that the production did not hang in scriptwriting level. Thank God, my brother that is going to be coming up in the next session is here. Many years, like 4 years ago now, I know you should be able to remember this story. A lady contacted us to write a script for her. She wants to do a production. When we finished writing, we asked her what is the budget. It's okay. The budget is like 4-point-something million at that then. Okay, that gave us okay. Let's explore. So we wrote everything. How we need to create some sets. Everything. This involves money. So when we gave her the script, you guys say, one of the cast that's supposed to come on that set was Mama Tokwe Alabi. Yesterday I was in church and she was ministering. That came to my mind. Mama Tokwe Alabi. She's supposed to be on that set because the character we crafted was majorly for someone like her. And we did all of this planning. Do you know that today the script is still where it is? Because the budget cannot be met. You see? So what am I trying to say? The script gives you the blueprint of what the budget is all about. So through the script, they will be able to know how much of costumes they are getting for the cast. What type of costume are they getting? If in my script I know that I need some soldier costumes, what I need to do, I'll just call them uniform men. Then I get different uniform to get it done. But you calling the word Nigeria police, meaning that the kind of uniform they will carry must carry Nigeria police. and before you know that, it will affect your budgeting. So script writing helps filmmaking in a way where it expresses its financial and logistic planning. So I've dwelt so much on this, so I'll just read through so that you understand it. A detailed script functions as a business plan. A detailed script, there's what is called a spec script. That's what you use to what is it called now? That's what you use for to present, when you present to investors. That one carries everything about the production. So a detailed script functions as a business plan, enabling producers to budget resources. Yes, create production schedules and avoid wasting time and money during the complex and costly film making process. So in your script, they should be able to see what is needed, the kind of location that they will need to get. How close or how far is the location will determine the kind of transportation that will be gotten. How long will they be spending in this place? How long will the story, will the script take for them to execute it? Talking about welfare, the kind of people the kind of character in that script will determine the kind of people that will be invited as a cast. So that determines how much money will be spent on the cast. I want to say this, please do not be part of people, especially some of us are here, we're going to be producers. We are producers. Please, when you're writing your script, let the scriptwriter know, tell them about the plan for your budget. Yes, for the film. That will narrow down what they're writing in the script. I trust God to help us, because there are some scripts where you have an area view of a community. Instead of stealing footage online and you want to have a drone shot, you should know that you are going to rent a drone. And a drone now in Nigeria, the least you can have is 40,000. That should be like maybe 20 pounds or something. The least you can rent, and it depends on how long you want to use it. There are some shots that it is written that is a drone that has to pick it. So you should understand that the script gives a rundown for the financial and logistic planning quickly. So in conclusion, in short, a film cannot exist without a screenplay. That's it. You must understand that. A film cannot exist without a screenplay. It is the essential starting point that determines the creative direction and emotional core of the final cinematic experience. I will say that again. It is the essential starting point. Like I told us in the beginning, it's the blueprint of filmmaking. Essential starting point that determines the creative direction. It is we move from it. That determines the creative direction and emotional core of the final cinematic experience. Quickly now, I'm just going to be fast with this next phase. I want to talk about the overview of filmmaking process and script role. We're emphasizing this. I don't know. I always want us to emphasize this so that we understand why we need to invest quality time in preparing for the script, because it matters a lot to all part of production. Let me say this, my sister, my brother, nobody is an island. My brother here, when I write script, sometimes I send to him to check. He writes, he sends. We brainstorm. Something happened few weeks ago, or almost a month now. We're planning a production, and when it is time to present the script, he was the one that wrote the script. And before we began to dialogue around the script, it took us 4 hours. We digested the script and changed many things. After that 4 hours, we did not finish. We still had to plan an appointment to still redigest. So we discovered that no, we can't bring out this script now. We put it one side. We have to finish it up in a way that it should be done. That's the work. See, if until you finish the process in script writing, there is no production that will take place. It is what you wrote that the crew members we work with. So spend time to get the script. Sometimes you send your script out for people to read. Let them check. Ask them. There's my friend in Lagos. Anytime I will send, please help me check. That's how it is, because it is the audience, that you're writing for. It is the viewers you're writing for. So before you send it to the production crew, people around you need to be sure that this thing will fly. They need to be sure that it will be impactful. I tell people, instead of standing before the mirror, ask somebody in your house, how do you look? Because you are dressing for the people outside. That's fashion. But we spend the mirror the mirror is like beginning of writing script yourself alone. Check your mirror and say, okay, I'm fine now. So when you are now stepping out, you should ask somebody, how do I look? That's when you send your script to other people. This thing I've done, how does it look? So that they can be able to vet anything they think you should have. If they have an idea you want to consider and add. Quickly, film process. I want to lay this emphasis that film is made. It's called filmmaking. There are processes for film to be made. You must understand. Just like if you want to cook jollof rice, you wake up in the morning and say the jollof rice you want to eat. There are procedures. The way they cook jollof rice is different from the way they cook fried rice. You must understand that you have to get the rice first, get all the ingredients available. Then you get to the kitchen, put all the ingredients together, then jollof rice is made. So you don't have jollof rice automatically. There are processes involved. So filmmaking has stages. In filmmaking process involves 5 main stages. There is development stage. Now, we talked about the blueprint of the production as the script. Now, in the development stage, that's where script writing comes in. I call it preparatory stage. That is the stage where a producer conceives an idea. We have different producers that are just film business people. They don't really write script. They just have idea on filmmaking. They do business. They know how to sell it. They have presence online. They know how to market. Those days in Nigeria, it is the marketers and the film producers. They are not. You don't see them on set. You don't see them acting, but they make more money because they are business people. They use intellectual property of some persons, collect rights, and give them little peanuts. And because just having it in your head, writing it down alone cannot make it a movie. So you just sell that and get the little you want to have. So what am I trying to say? Now, development stage is the first stage in filmmaking. It's the place where a producer contracts the script writing to a script writer. Tell the person the kind of story you want. Many people have to contract script writing to script writers because that is their field. Many film producers, they have the knowledge of the story. They know the story. They know how they want it to go, but they do not have that time because it is not their field. So script writers, they tell you this is how they want it to be. So at the beginning, they get the director they want. They contact. Sometimes they start from contacting the director and say, okay, I want to do a film. This is the story I have in mind. Who do you think we should meet with the script writing? I need a script writer to write it, and then from there we go. The director will say, okay, I know a film writer, a script writer is good. Or you yourself as a producer, you know a script writer, you contact the script writer and tell them, please, I need a script to be done. It is after the script is done, spend more time in getting the script done first. Spend more time. Look, there's one script here, it's titled Broken. This script has been done for over 4 months now. It has not been produced. By God's grace, maybe next week it will be produced. What am I saying? Spend much time in getting the script done. That's why it's called the development stage. It's what determines how other stages will function. It is the blueprint. If this is not done properly, there will be problems. So as a scriptwriter, you are like a god. So do not disappoint your viewers. First thing people look out for is who wrote the script. Now it has changed to who produced the film or who directed the film. So you understand, in the development stage of filmmaking, you need adequate script writing, which is very much important. Many times script writer just writes and submits, and when it's time to execute, the director says, no, this story will not fly like this. We need to work on it. And you see people sit around the table and start working on the script, delaying time, causing them delay. So you must understand that development stage is the first stage in script writing, where the script is written, as a blueprint for the production. The next one we have here is the pre-production. I love this stage so much. You know why I love this stage is that this is where the main bulk of the work is done for production. Pre-production is a crucial planning phase, where the script is broken down into detailed plans for the shoot. Pre-production is a filmmaking process, a stage in filmmaking where the script is broken down into detailed plans for the shoot. You know, tasks include having a crew. That's what happened in pre-production. That's where you hire a crew for the production. You know, casting actors. That's where you need to plan audition to be able to get people that will play the role in the script. Don't forget that sometimes when you write the script, you write a girl of 20 or a girl of 20, you know, talking about the description of the kind of the character. So it is time for we have the casting directors to be able to cast people to feature into that description written in the script. So in post-production, it is the place where you scout for location. That's film process. Now creating a production schedule also and developing a budget. This is what you do in filmmaking process. Okay, sorry, please. How many minutes do I have more? I can't
Right.
hear you, please.
10 minutes or so to wrap up, please.
For the first session,
Yes.
my God, I will not lay emphasis again. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. If I had known, I would have asked for the time. So I would just have to be fast about it. So, like I said, I believe we are all script writers. You get it. I just want to give us some things to write down. But notwithstanding, I will be fast. So, like I said, pre-production is the crucial planning stage, you know, where the script is broken down into detailed plans for the shoot. Tasks include hiring crew, casting, casting directors, get the makeup personnel, get the welfare plan, scout for locations, create a production schedule and develop a budget. That's what you do in pre-production. You must know that. So, and that is determined by what is written in the script. So the next phase is the production. Now, I was talking about jollof rice. After getting all the materials, you have to get to the kitchen, putting them together. That's what we do in production phase. It is where the principal photography is done. Also known as principal photography. Yes, this is where the actual shooting takes place. That's what everybody know on set. You hear actor comes to so time. That's not when the plan for the film starts. So but that's when we call everybody. That's where the part of the script that has to do with the character and the dialogue, will be taking place, where the actors have to assume their character, then the dialogue has to be delivered. We call it lines on set. So production, also known as principal photography, this is where the actual shooting takes place. The crew captures all the footage according to the script, under the director's guidelines. Director will direct the actors on what to do. Have to be very fast. The next is post-production. Post-production means after production. This is where all the footages gathered, shot on the production, will be sent to the post-production personnel, where it will be edited, where you have to remove all of the of the what's it called now, footages that is not needed, where the first cut will be done, color grading will be done, audios or sounds will be added, to get the full production. The next phase of film making, which is distribution, it is the final stage where the film gets to the audience, the potential audience. Don't forget, you're writing for the kids. That is your determined audience, and if you're writing for the adult or maybe a romance kind of story, people that will get it. So I need to be fast. So there's no time to. I'm going to jump. Let me go to understanding genres and their conventions quickly. I just trust God to help me. I might not be able to read so much anymore, so that I wanted us to write something down, But I know while I was preparing this, I knew that there will be no much time because of the kind of topic we were talking about. So very important. So let me be fast. I want to go to genres and conventions now. We all know different type of genres in filmmaking. When you're doing your narrative, you must understand the genre you're working with. Very much important. You must understand the genre you are working with. We have different type of genre. Genre is a specific type of narrative. A specific type of narrative you're trying to tell, the type of story. Like if I want to talk about fantasy now, if you want to talk about adventure, or you want to talk about horror film, you know, those are genre type of things. So you should understand how you tell them. If we're talking about what's it called now, you're talking about romance, for example. You're talking about romance in, in your movie. That means you must understand what the audience will expect. I'm gradually entering conventions because there's no time. Conventions are the unseen and unwritten expectations of the audience. For example, now if you're talking about romance as a genre of your film, of the story you're writing, your audience expect to hear things like love. Yes. Audience expect things like happy ending. They expect things like chemistry. For those that have watched what's it called now? Love in a Word, or what they call this Omoni Oboli movie. I don't know if you have Love in Many Words. I don't know if I remember now. If you observe that film, you saw the chemistry. One thing I love about that film was the response, the reaction of the both persons in that film. The chemistry was so explicit. If it's been a while you fall in love, if you watch that film, you want to fall in love. So they did justice to that story because it tells the type of genre they are working with. So what am I trying to say? Genre and conventions. Conventions are the unwritten expectations of the viewers in your story connecting to the type of genre. Like we're talking about horror film now. Some people may expect cannibalism. So people will ask you, what type of genre is the movie? That will help them to prepare their minds. If I'm watching an horror, I know this is an horror film, but I know I will not be scared. I'm ready to take whatever is coming with it. You understand? So there are conventions that at least they expect. You can't be writing a Yoruba story without audience at point in time hear someone speak the language. That's the truth. There are expectations from the audience. Those are conventions attached to that genre. There's no time to start reading. There's no time. I would have shown us how we can properly craft a good conventions, But this is important. Like I can't be talking about a child in secondary school who lost her father, and the school will not be shown. We will not see her going to school. There are things audience expects connected to our genre. They are unwritten, but the audience expect them, and this thing keeps audience it keeps audience attracted to your work. Yes, it keeps audience attracted to your work because they know that anytime they watch your film, there's something there's always something you give. Just like comedy now, you can't be writing comedy kind of story and people will not laugh. There must be sense of humor. You don't need to write it there, but audience expect it because they know that this is the genre of the kind of film. If you are talking about tragedy now, a drama, normal drama, and it's tragedy based, people expect pain. People expect to feel for someone in the film. So these emotions, these are expectations for from the viewers. So as you're writing your script, you must understand this normal genre and their conventions. There is no time. I need to be very fast. Okay, now I want to talk about the 3 C's of screenwriting quickly. Please, 3 C's of screenwriting. There is no time. 3 C's of screenwriting. I trust God to help me now. I'm just trying to run 3 C's of screenwriting. The 3 C's of screenwriting basically they are the core of screenwriting. We can't overemphasize that. When I started, I told you about the story concept. I told you about the engaging character and the clear plot lines. You want to be a good script writer. So the 3 C's of screenwriting is the concept, the character, and the conflict. There's nothing I love in filmmaking like the concept. They can give the same topic to 5 script writers. You should be able to have different concepts to tell the same story. different concepts to send the same message. They are the core for script writing. So the very first C is called concept. This sets the stage for our entire script. It is the root idea, the seed from which your entire story will grow. Very, very much important. You must understand that the 3 C's has more to do with the core of your storytelling. A concept needs to be original. Don't forget that. It has to be original, engaging, and more importantly, it should resonate with the intended audience. Can you see? If you're writing for the children now, it must be something that is familiar with them. It should resonate with the intended audience. I need to be very fast now. There's no time. I'll go to second C, which is character. There's no time, which is character. Character is the heart and the soul of every script writing. Character is the heart and the soul of every script writing. No matter how good is your story, it is the character that tells the story. So your character development is very, very important. For those that have watched Seven Doors, many watched Seven Doors, but they got glued to the character of that guy that did the, what's it called? That did the, I don't know what to call his name now. Did they call him a Susu? I don't know, it's a Yoruba language. They call him a Susu in that film. You know, everybody loved the way, and they gave a backstory to his character. You know, so what am I trying to say? The character development is what makes your story unique. You know, we watch Jagun Jagun, you know, and you can't easily forget Ogundiji. I don't know if I'm saying this. Okay, you watch Romeo and Juliet. You see, the guy that played that role played that Romeo very well. The Juliet played that role very well. So it is the character, that makes your storytelling very, very unique. It is the heart and the soul of script writing. Once you have got a solid concept, the next comes into play is character. They are the ones driving your story forward. It is the character that drives your story forward. So the kind of characters you develop in your story is what determines how attractive it will be to the audience, how it will be accepted by the audience. There's no time. Quickly, I'm going to the last C, which is conflict. You know, this scripting is a whole course. It's not something you finish. It's not easy. It's conflict. You know, conflict is the reason why people want to watch your film. Let me just bring it down this way. Don't forget, I told you about narrative, that storytelling is a complete narration. That's at beginning, the middle, and the end. So in between the beginning, the middle, and the end, conflict must be involved. It's what makes story, even normal life, conflict is what makes life sweet. Sometimes you go through hardship, your what's it called now? Your hero has to start pursuing a particular goal. In between pursuing that goal, he encounter a lot of challenges. You know, it looks as though he's going to dissolve to a thin air because of the challenges he's confronting and the things he's experiencing. But suddenly you see that Savior appears, and we all have an happy ending. What am I trying to say? Conflict is what makes audience want to watch your film. The final C, conflict, is what keeps the story moving. Without conflict, your script is just a series of events. Without conflict, your script is just a series of events. But introduce a gripping conflict, and suddenly every scene is charged with purpose. Conflict can be external. Now, we have 3 types of conflicts. Sorry, I need to be very fast. So sorry, please. I never knew. Don't mind me. We have 3 types of conflicts. First, we have the man-to-man conflict. Yes, that is the external. So we have the man with nature conflict. You see, you watch this film where Hurricane is the one disturbing them in the community. You know, man with nature conflict, man versus nature, man versus man first conflict, where we have the protagonist and the antagonist, which they are humans. Man versus man conflict. We also have man versus nature conflict. All of this is external, you know. Now, and we also have the internal conflict, which is man versus himself. You see a man struggling with an illness throughout the film, struggling with an inner pain, situation that he can't tell anybody, and is dying gradually. That is another type of conflict. You know, these are type of conflict you can reveal in all your stories. Very much important. They are the challenges, the obstacles, and the violence of your story. Very, very much important. I believe we have gotten that. There's no time to buttress. I need to be very, very fast. I need to be very, very fast because the last, okay, this is where for me. Ideas and crafting log lines. Brainstorming ideas and crafting log lines. You see, you need to, like I said, when I started as a script writer, you must learn to brainstorm. There's what is called synopsis. Synopsis is a brief summary of what your story is all about. You know, if you want to market your script, it is a synopsis that attracts your investors. It is a synopsis they want to see. That's how they will know if the story will fly. But when it comes to logline is one sentence description of a narrative. Logline is one sentence description of a narrative. And one thing about this logline, it reveals your character in the story. You know, it actually attracts. It's like a teaser that attracts the attention of your audience. They want to watch that film because they just see the logline. Some people they don't just want to say, I want to watch this film. They just want to go check the logline first. It is the logline that attracts them first. So, like I said, logline is one sentence description of a movie. So you must understand this. Now, this logline must be concise and is a concise summary of the main plot. Yes, that's what it is. You know, so I want to tell us what is expected in our log lines. So why you need a good log line is because it will help your pitching in case you want to sell your story. You know. So let me just tell us a few things that is important when we're doing our log line. So that I need to be very fast now. Okay. If you want to write a log line, firstly, you need to know with clarity what your story is about. Very important. Make sure you know the genre. Like I've said, you are working with inside and out. A strong example of logline is one that is able to concisely whistle down the core of the story in a compelling way without giving away the ending. You see, you are going to isolate the key elements and arrange them as tightly as possible within the formula that is given. Now, there's a formula. The first thing in the formula of writing a logline is keep it pithy. Yes, a logline should be incredibly concise and straight to the point. One sentence at a push. Yes. Your logline is what makes people want to check out the story. You don't give them everything about what the story is all about, but you just give them like a journey of a person. You know, you just talk about the journey of a person, then you talk about the what's it called, the obstacle they experience. You don't give them the solution that happens to them, what actually happened, how they escape, but you create another tension that makes people to say they want to watch the movie. Very much important. 4 things you must look out for in your logline: protagonist, inciting incident, the protagonist's goal, and the central conflict. There's no time. I would have sent okay, I would have read one logline out, but there is no time. But I believe we know what logline is. As scriptwriters, there is no time, please. I would have given a sample. For maybe when we start doing our practical, we'll check out, we'll work on that. Now, Okay, thank God. Before I go to three act structure and its variations, this is very, very, don't forget everything we are talking about is what you do before you start writing. Writing is the script format. Now, when you talk about three act structure, I would have preferred plot structures, but notwithstanding, I will still narrow it down to what plot structure is all about. You know, a plot structure is how an event. A plot structure, it refers to the sequence of events that drive the narrative forward. You know, how events evolve in your story. That is what a plot structure is. You know, the structure of your plot. And it has it has six elements. First element is exposition. Exposition. Now, let me say you as a scriptwriter, in 15 minutes of your script, you should have seen all the characters. Even though we don't know who they are, just let them appear. I don't know when Mini is coming to this to Netflix. For those who are in Nigeria, check out Mini. I watched the movie and I was blown away. You know, in 15 minutes, you should see everybody that's involved in the production, but later you know the reason why they're in the production. So that's what happened in your exposition. In your exposition, you must have introduced your character, your protagonist, set the settings of the film, you know, the inciting situation that happens, you know, that's the next one in your plot structure. We'll talk about the rising action, then we'll get to the climax. Then before we get to the falling action, then we'll go to resolution. This is the plot structure. These are the structures in your plot. The plot is what your story is all about. The center of your story. That's what the plot. So in the structure, okay, I got that. Don't mind me. I just want us to, it's important that we get it because these are the things that are important before we enter format. Many people are quick to do format, but they forgot that the composition is more important, you know. So that is a plot structure. But don't forget that story structure, hear this, story structure, they narrow it down to be three act structure. And all encapsulates what the plot structure is all about. You know, so three act structure, on the other hand, is a specific type of plot structure that divides a story into three distinct acts. Yes, all the story, the movie, divides into three distinct acts. And the first is called the setup, which is the act one. You see, in the three act structure. The first is what? The act one, which is the setup. You know, the setup. This setup, like I said, in the plot structure, don't forget, I said the plot structure, we have what? The exposition. We have what? The inciting incident, what sets your protagonist on a journey, what makes him happy. The second one I said is the rising action. The third now is the climax. The fourth is what? The falling action, and the fifth is the resolution. You know, you must understand this. So now, in the three act structure, we have the first act, act one, which encapsulates the exposition, the inciting incident. You know, a three act structure is a part of the plot structure, you know, that summarizes the plot into three acts. Don't forget, the first here is the setup. The setup here is the exposition and inciting incident. The second is the confrontation. You know, as your character begins to evolve, as the story continues, as the events begin to come up, you know, you begin to see your character, your hero or the protagonist now, you know, begin to face some confrontations. You know, begin to face some confrontations. You know, the story is getting more tense. It's moving from one level to another. You know, it's talking about the rising action, the midpoint, and the crisis. That's everything about the Act Two, which is the confrontations. While the action is rising, we get to the midpoint where the protagonists begin to experience crisis. So between the Act One, Act Two, we should be able to see what the conflict is all about. Yes. Between Act One, Act Two, we should be able to see what the conflict is all about. Now, let me tell us this. In Act Three is resolution, but you see, don't forget that in that resolution, when it comes to three-act structure, as the three phases, three-act summary of what structure is all about, we also, in that resolution, we have climax. Yes, climax is that point that makes your audience to get glued to their seat. Climax is that point, that thing that makes it is where twist is involved. At that climax, the situation is so intense for your protagonist. Like, he's confused. Everybody's like, what's going to happen to this person? What's going to happen in this situation? At that point, there are suspense involved. At that point is where we see twist. It is in your climax you involve twist. If you watch Love in Every Word Part 2, you watch the scene where both of them are to part ways. If you watch that scene, where both of them are to part ways, and in that scene, one thing I don't like about I'm Sorry, when I check it, is that scene is supposed to be the climax, and they are supposed to involve a twist, but the twist they involved was not a twist for me, because they wouldn't have allowed the mother to know that the lady is the lady Jodogu was talking about. They would have allowed them to meet naturally. They would have allowed them to meet naturally. Let the audience be expecting what will happen if they get to know each other. It just look like something you just brush over. They really did not calm down to settle that situation. So at that climax, it's where the tension, everybody went on separate ways. And when you get to that climax, please don't be too fast. Don't be too fast to do resolution. Don't be too fast to fall the action. Don't be too fast. Let audience get sink into the climax. That is where at that climax we involve suspense. At that climax we involve twists. So that the mind of the audience can be, at that point, audience should not go to the toilet if they're pressed. That should be something that is keeping them, they want to watch what is going to happen. Let them get enough. That's what we call pacing. Let them get enough of every phase of the film. Enough of the climax. So at this climax, that's where twist is involved. Another level of suspense. Then we now come to the falling action. Maybe the hero now find a surviving strategy. There's a savior that comes to rescue him, and before he gets to his destination. The falling what's it called now? In that film was the part where the guy finally the mother gets to finally accept both of them to be married, because she has had something with the lady, and she has seen that the lady is a wonderful person. For me, I'm sorry, we're not here to talk about film. We'll talk about that later. But that film is, as a script writer, you need to learn from that film. The script, I don't know, that the climax was not properly, the pacing was limited. They did not allow the audience to get enough. They were rushing at the climax. They were rushing that phase. Go and watch it again as a script writer. The climax of Love in Every Word in Part 2, they were rushing it, and the twist was not properly placed. The falling action was so fast, and the resolution just came fast. Like they want to quickly end the film. So you must check the pacing in your script. Very, very important. I don't know, our host, I don't know if I can stop here so that we can take the next thing. Although we have like 3 other topics to talk about. I don't know. Let me hear from you, man.
Yeah, because we're actually running out of
Time,
time,
right?
because we only have 3 hours, and otherwise we'll be here all day. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's also can leave enough time for practical stuff at the end, which you
Okay.
can still touch on some things at the end, but like we need enough time for that practical session. So
Okay.
yeah, so we'll stop there. I know you wanted to say a lot of stuff, but like we have limited um time.
Fine.
Probably if I invite you next time, I'll just give you more time. So, but
No
for now,
problem.
that's what we have. So yeah, we're going straight into session two now, which is like writing for the screen. So we'll be looking at scene construction, like developing setting action and dialogue and all those type of stuff. So yeah, I'll introduce our second speaker for that, and who is Mr. Samuel. And he is a script writer, a media and production manager with over 9 years experience in script writing and media production management across Nigeria and other media business. And he has written and managed several media productions ranging from films, documentaries, TV shows, and programs. He currently doubles as the coordinator of Kingdom Actors Production and the admin or head of production at Region Film Studios, Nigeria. So I would hand over to him now to take the second session, and I'll give you like 15 minutes or thereabout, or 45 minutes, so we can have time for practical as well. So yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon. Please, how many minutes did you mention? I couldn't get that.
50 minutes. 50.
50.
Hello, can we hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
50 minutes.
I don't know if you can
Please,
hear
how many
me.
minutes?
50.
Okay, 50 minutes. Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, Thank you so much for having me. Special thanks to Kehillah Studio for the opportunity to share ideas and brainstorm around the topics we have. And just because of time, and because we have a lot of other things to do, practical sections, among others. So we will not be taking much of our time. Uh, my brother have talked extensively in the first section about a part of screenwriting, which is the story. There are two elements of writing: the story and how to write it. And I will not dwell much on the story. Our brother talks about the plot, what constitutes a story, how to arrive at your climax, and all what have you. But in this second section, I will be dwelling on scene construction, how to write your scene descriptions, the action lines, dialogues, creating realistic and engaging dialogues, avoiding cliches, writing smooth transitions. So all this has to do with how you write your script, which is the second element of a screenplay. And I'm going to be focusing on the core skills of screenwriting, you know, writing scenes that the audience can feel, scenes that the audience can see and have experience on. And coming to the scene construction, we'll first of all define what a scene is in a story. A scene is the basic unit of a screenplay. That's in the shorter terms. Every scene is a basic unit of a screenplay. A screenplay has so many units, so many scenes that brings about a, a unique entity for the audience. And what is the purpose of a scene? Now, we are taking it unit by unit. Before we talk about the whole screenplay altogether, a scene is the basic unit of a screenplay. And it has two main purposes. A scene has two main purposes. One, it is either to move your story forward or to reveal your character. And that's why when you have shot a movie and you are doing a preview after editing, You look at scenes that does not move your story forward, neither do they reveal anything about your character, and you'll be told that, look, let's yank this scene off. It doesn't really, help in pushing forward our story. So as we are writing the script, as we have learned how to plot our story structures and art, you must know that as you are creating each scene, what purpose do they serve? Do they help to drive my story forward, or do they reveal anything about my character? So this should be in the back of our mind as we commence the process of writing a script. And there are different elements of a scene. I'm trying to break it down and taking it gradually so that we could easily understand it. There are different elements of a scene. Earlier, we agreed that a scene is a basic unit of a screenplay. Now, within that unit now, there are also elements that is expected to be seen in that scene, in each of your scene. And the first one is the setting. And that's why when you are writing a screenplay, remember we are talking about a screenplay in filmmaking and not a stage play. So, and under the scenes construction we are talking about, we are trying to break down, what is a scene, what are the elements of scene, how do we craft our scene, how do we construct our scene? And when you hear about construction is all about building. So I'm constructing a house, I'm building something. And the same way, when you are crafting your scenes, you should have it in mind that you are constructing. And when you are constructing, there are different layers you expect, from the foundation of the roof to roofing to the block works. That is the exact nature of how we construct our scenes. Our scenes must have the setting. That's the first element of a scene. Setting, where are we? What details define our environment in that setting? Are we in the house? Are we outside? Are we in the market? Are we in the shopping mall? So the setting must be known. And that's why when you are writing your script, that's what we call scene heading. And in there, it will be revealed whether it's happening interior, whether it's in the supermarket, and the time of the day it's happening, whether it is day or night. So when we are clear about that setting, when we are clear about that, where we are in that particular scene, and that's when we go to what we call scene descriptions and action lines. Now, in scene description and action line, we must be careful not to make our scene description and action lines to be so wordy. That is many lines, 2-3 different paragraphs. It makes it makes us to lose touch of reality. So our screen, our description and action line should be between 2 to 4 lines. Unnecessary statements should not be written there. For example, let me give 2 examples. A bad example and a better example, because for us to better understand what I'm trying to say in terms of crafting or writing effective scene description and action line. Example 1, the night was lonely and cold. Teresa's heart felt like it carried the pain of 1,000 lost moments. That is an example of a scene description after writing your scene edit. The second example, it's night. Like she hasn't slept in days. Now, when you look at the first example is worthy, but achieved nothing. The night was lonely and cold. The result has felt like it carried the pain of 1,000 lost moments. We cannot be revealing the pain of 1,000 lost moments to the audience. But it's easier for us to say, Teresa stands alone at the bus stop, shivering. She's tired, looking like someone who hasn't had sleep in many days. So as a writer, we are not writing for ourselves. We are not writing. It's not about the grammar, the English as it suits us. No, but as it suits our character, as it suits our character, and how better it will be for our audience to understand what is going on there. So our scene description must be clear. must be concise, must be visual in nature, must be something we could see. You know, we are trying to describe Teresa. She's at the bus stop. One, we are taking note of how she looks. What is happening? She's shivering. She's lost in thought. Very clear, very concise. It's not ambiguous, you know, like the first one where we say it's a lonely night and cold night. A lonely and cold night. It makes no meaning to the audience if a night is lonely and cold. Of what would they do with it? But for Teresa, who is shivering at the bus stop, who is alone, makes more sense for them to know. So we must be careful not to make our scene descriptions and action lines so bogus and overambitious because we are writing for the screen. And the essence of writing for the screen is for the audience to see and not to explain to them. And that is on that aspect. And then when writing our screen heading and action point, we must ensure we write in present tense. As I said earlier, let's keep it short and simple, between 2 to 4 lines, mass at a time is enough in terms of your description. Remember to describe where we are, which is the setting, describe what's going on, the environment, and little details about your audience. Now, something about the scene we must know is when writing our scene, one, we've agreed earlier on that our scene must move our story forward or reveal our character. Now, if nothing is achieved out of these two in your scene, then that scene is not needed. So we must take note of that when writing our scene. Now, there are different components of a scene, as I've stated earlier, you know, from the setting, from the action, what is happening physically. We must also state that, what is happening physically. Then, is there any moment of change in that scene? Okay, we are writing a scene where somebody is lonely at the bus stop, shivering. Is that where the scene ends? Or later we see somebody walks in, consoles Teresa, and gives her some form of hope. And then she's now cheerful and they walk away from the screen. So we must decide to know whether in this scene, we want to have a change of moment for our character, or we want to leave them in that state where we met them when the scene opened. So that must be clear to us as writer. And then another point we must know is that in writing our scene description, we must let our audience know that we are not revealing, we want them to discover what is going on and not we telling them. So we must limit our dialogues and make our characters to express more. You know, because in every situation when we begin to tell our audience, oh, we allow our characters to say everything about them. Do you know I'm angry with you? Do you know you offended me? It makes our story uninteresting. It makes our audience lose interest. But rather, somebody can portray anger without saying, I'm angry with you. So we must use emotions more. We must use emotions better rather than telling. Now, another thing we must take note is that we must ensure we write only what can be seen. There is no need to write inner thought of our character in our scene description. There's no need to write long stories. Let our actions and visuals communicate these emotions. Let them communicate. Let our actions communicate instead. Let the visuals communicate instead. No long story inside descriptions. You walk from one place to another, then this happened. No, let the emotions of your characters and their actions communicate better to the audience. Now, I would like to speak on dialogues. Because of time, I'm trying to creating realistic dialogue and engaging dialogue. And I think when we look at our section subheadings, there are about 3-4 subtitles that I will try to craft together because of time. Creating realistic, engaging dialogue that has to do with dialogue, using dialogue to reveal characters, you know, avoiding exposition dumps and all that, you know, writing smooth transition and dialogue task. So when you look at those, or the other to do with dialogue. So I will just combine everything as regard dialogue, and then we talk about it before we go to the other subheading. Now, what are dialogues in script writing? Generally, even in everyday life, we talk about dialogue. Dialogue is conversation between two or more people, either in a play, movie, in a book. It is more than just talk in screenwriting. Dialogues let us peek into the minds and heart of our characters. So when we are writing our script, when we are writing our story, we must have it in the back of our mind that we are not just creating dialogue for our character just for them to talk. No, but rather we are letting them show us their mind and heart through what they tell us. And then, of course, we all know that it is dialogue that moves our story forward and build the world around our characters and around their stories. So dialogue is not just conversation. In real life, we talk without a clear goal and purpose. Sometimes we can just be chit-chatting, with our friends and all that. But when writing a script play, every of our dialogue must be intentional, must move our story forward and not make our story so redundant. And then, of course, just as we talk about a scene, dialogue also reveal our character. From our dialogue, we can know if our character is a rich man or a poor man, if he's a student or what have you. So dialogue is essential in revealing who our character is and what they say and how they say it can tell us a lot about their personality. Are they stammerer? So when crafting our dialogue, from the beginning of the story to the end, we must ensure we stay true to their personality. You cannot tell us that in scene 1, our character is a stammerer, and then when we get to scene 70, we see none of these elements again till the end of the story. So we must be consistent, in creating dialogue or personality, for our character. And also, a good dialogue shows emotions. It shows emotion. It creates tensions or conflict, as the case may be. Now, there are some dialogue issues that I would like to, list out for us to avoid when writing our dialogue. The first one is we must not make long speeches. We must not make our dialogue to be long, explaining the same thing and over again. When you were speaking to Terry when I went to the market and I bought something. I bought chocolate and then I came home. I gave my son. Why not that your character pick up the chocolate? So the friend asking, oh, you got chocolate? Yeah, it's for my son. It's simple. Instead of making it to be long speeches, boring the audience and what have you. And then overuse of slangs instead of being character specific. And that's, in the area of cliche that we will talk about later. We must be careful from the beginning of our story. If we have identified a particular slang with a character, we must be consistent with it and not also overuse it, because overusing it make it so, it makes it uninteresting, as the case may be. Now, another thing we must know about dialogue is that my brother earlier on, when talking about, genres and all that, tell us that we have different genres, and how we can craft so many things. The same thing with our dialogue. When creating our dialogue, we must realize as scriptwriter that every genre, dialogue principle. For example, you cannot tell us you are writing a comedy script, but we could not find any element from the dialogue of something comic. So it means there is a contradiction. So the first thing as you decide you want to write a story, you have classified your story in the genre it belongs to, whether it's a thriller, whether it's science fiction, whether it's romance or comedy. When you have highlighted which genre it belongs to, Now, this will guide you in crafting your dialogue. If you say it's a thriller, if you observe and if you have watched so many thrillers, you discover that dialogues are so crispy, tense, loaded with so many clues, fast-paced. I want to have you very sharp sentences, and every word matters when it comes to thriller. But when it comes to comedy, the attention is not really on whether the English you speak or how crispy it is. It is about how funny it makes the audience laugh. So as writers, you should understand this from the beginning, so that you are writing a comedy script, but we couldn't find any element that makes the audience laugh. It defeats the process. And also, if you are writing a romantic journey, then it means you need to research and look for those words, those dialogues that express emotions about love, and not just putting conflicting day-to-day dialogue thoughts, and because generally, even as human beings, when we are talking about romantic situations, even we as human beings, there are specific words, dialogue we use. When you are talking about comedy, as human beings, there are things that easily make us laugh. So as writers, we must, because as writers now, remember when writing the script, we are putting ourselves in the shoe of each of our characters and trying to put ourselves in their situation. So we must understand this, that for every journey, there are specific dialogue patterns which we must embrace or research about. If we are not, some of us as scriptwriters, we have different strengths. There are some scriptwriters, their strength may be thriller, some may be comedy. Regardless of your strength as writers, there are places for research. This is crucial. And that's why sometimes when you pick up a script to read, you couldn't really place whether the dialogue is, they say they are doing thriller, but you are seeing element of, comedy dialogues that did not really advance the story. So this must be in our understanding for us to know that for each journey we are writing, there are specific nuances of how a dialogue should be. So the key to writing good dialogue in any journey is to understand the mood and the atmosphere of the journey, and then use dialogue to enhance it. So remember, I noted that dialogue is not just about what the character says, but how they say it. So it is two things. As we're writing dialogue, we're not just about what the character says, but how they say it. So that is that on I've talked about definition of dialogue, what dialogues do and how to use dialogue in okay, I've not talked about that. I've talked about, how to write. Let me quickly touch a little bit. This that I'm dwelling much time on the dialogue because everything about writing has to do with the dialogue. That is the main bulk of the story. How to use dialogue in story. Now, we use dialogue to expose a card for exposition. For expositions. Instead of having narrator to tell us a character backstory, we can reveal it through dialogue. We can reveal it through dialogue. And then, for example, one character might say to another character, I haven't been back to this town since the factory closed, and my family has to move. With that dialogue, we've known that this particular character have not been around since the factory closed. So we don't need to start showing when the factory closed or how the character's family moved away from that city. We've already explained that through that dialogue. So another thing we can use dialogue to do in our story is to show and not tell. Of course, we must have probably heard it that we should show and not tell. Dialogue is a great way to achieve that. Instead of telling us that our character is hungry, as I said earlier, by showing it, we can just make them shout. We can make them shout. We can make them break things. Of course, somebody who is not angry cannot just wake up and break things unless the person, is insane. So instead of telling us that they are hungry, we can actually show. And then, of course, dialogue reveals character, and dialogue also advance our plot. So let me talk on how do we write realistic dialogue. Now, first, we must, as writers, we must be used to listening to real life conversations. We writers, we are more or less like people who research, people who are very much attentive to things happening around us. So we must be willing to listen to how do we talk real life. When we want to talk about, oh, we want to show a big man, this is a rich man, we want to reveal this is a rich man, we must know how do rich men talk. We want to talk about this is a pastor. My character is playing the role of a pastor. We must have an understanding of how do pastors communicate. We want to talk about, a market woman. How do they communicate in the market? So that is how to write realistic dialogue. We must listen to how real conversations happens. And that's why sometimes when you're in a oh no, that's not how you drunkard do. No, drunkards do not, So we must be interested in listening to real conversations. Let real people talk. Let us hear them speak. Earlier on, my brother was talking about, of now writers trying to maybe generate through AI a script and then giving it to directors and then directors getting confused. The fact is that as useful as AI is, there is still a missing human element of it. So even as writers, we must know that every dialogue, we must tailor it to how real life conversations actually takes place. And then also we must keep it concise, must keep it clear, let that dialogue not be ambiguous, without people understanding. And that's why, when people watch some movie scene, you will see them tap each other. And what did that person say in that scene? It means they couldn't really grasp what that scene is achieving through their dialogue. What are the do's and don'ts in writing a dialogue? Is talking with Donald and he keep mentioning, oh, Donald, do you remember this? And then the maker reply. And then when next is speaking, he still say, oh, Donald. So we should not overuse name from the beginning. Once we have revealed the name of a character, either through any of the characters' dialogue, there is no need for repetition of names. Because in real life conversation, when I am together with Brahima physically, for example, I don't keep mentioning his name after I want to ask him every questions. No. So the same way when writing a script, we must ensure we don't overuse name. Then also, we should not forget about body language, because dialogue, especially for we scriptwriter, screenwriter, dialogue is not just about what is said, it is also about how it is said. We are crafting our dialogue. So we should not forget about body language. We want to say somebody is angry, they're seeing descriptions and action lines. We must express to our audience that this person is also angry. And of course, we should not use contractions. And what do I mean by that? We should not contradict. We want to explain that our character is a banker. In an office setting, he's speaking as a banker, outside where we place her, maybe in another scene, he no longer speaks as we have established how the personality is. So there is contradictions from the beginning of our story, from the scene 1 to scene 50. That element of our character's personality must be present in our dialogue. So some of the things we can do to help us improve in writing a very good dialogue is we must try, keep practicing. Practice, put yourself in different shoes. As writers, we are writing for all the characters. So we must put ourselves in different shoes of each of our characters, write out, read it aloud, for you to catch where it doesn't flow, rewrite. So constant practice is one of the things that could help us, some of the exercises that could help us in creating a perfect dialogue in our journey of script writing. And then, of course, sometimes, do you know it's possible for us to write a dialogue even without talking? That's just with sound. So sometimes, as a practice, we can create dialogue either using sound and body language. And that's why we have, some monologues now. We just see people, somebody comes in, is thinking, looking at the ceiling, he walks around, and then maybe on the table, we see we saw a knife, we saw drugs, we saw a gun, and we see our character is at the moment gazing into those things at the table, trying to decide what to pick, and then he pick a knife, for example. That shows us that our character is trying to do something nasty. So even without talking, we've succeeded in talking to our audience through what we reveal. We saw a knife, we saw drugs, we saw poison, we saw a gun, and then they pick a knife. So it goes to show us that, our character is actually going through a lot, and then maybe he's trying to kill himself or commit suicide. So all these are elements we must ensure that we take note of when writing our script. And then, of course, I've talked about, let's not make our dialogue so wordy that is so much we couldn't really grasp what to talk about. Because of our time, I'm trying to now, because of our time, maybe in the next few minutes, I will try and round up so that we can dwell much on the practical aspect. I've taken much time on the dialogues. Now, let me talk a little bit on, I've also talked about the visual storytelling, show, don't tell. Understanding camera and writer. We are the, and that is where we round up in this section. We are not the director of photography. We must have the background. We are not a director, but have movement of camera influence how we write. We must allow the DOP directors the chance to have their way. For example, what do I mean? We must have camera awareness, but we are not the director or the DOP. Where in our script, we are saying camera pan to, camera move across, then camera give an area shot of. It is not our job. It is the job of the DOP and the director. In fact, there are some directors that when they see all those camera angles on cameras, we track from character A to character B. They feel insulted. Then why am I the director? Why am I the DOP? It is my job to create the camera movement of how the scene you have written for me will look like. So you can only give me an idea of what is happening to my character. So as writers, we must understand that. So we must limit all this close up on an area view of we pan left to. Let's leave that to the director and the DOP. So our job is, let's show it. Instead, we can describe the moment and emotions that our character is going on, or the moment and our environment for our director and DOP to be guided. But it is not our duty to be creating short angles and putting it in our script for them to read. No. So we must take note of that also. And then also, I said earlier, screenwriting is not about beautiful English, grammar, and what have you. It is about emotion. It is about visual clarity. It is about human honesty. Yes, human honesty in the sense that we are not writing for machines. It is for humans, so it must be realistic. It must have that human nature that, yes, this is true, this is real. And then we should write less or show more so that our audience can feel the story. Less what? Write less or show more so that our audience can feel the story. So I see that because we have about less than an hour left to go, so I'm trying to keep it short and simple so that maybe if there are questions, from the questions, it can lead us to better explain further in so many of those other issues. Now, okay, on transition as I conclude. Yeah, transitions, we must be careful when writing our scripts and pacing it and not overuse transitions. For example, when in our script, flashback, 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 flashback. When flashback is too no mirrors in the script, it's become confusing. So we must be careful how we use transition. it is not bad to have a flashback in the script, but when it becomes so, numerous, and from flashback, then we go to 10 years later, we come back to present, 20 years later, so it becomes so confusing. So we must limit transitions, and those dialogue tags to ensure that we keep our story simple, clear, concise, and visually compelling. So I think I will hold it on here so that we can have enough time for the practical session and perhaps question and answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. So we don't have that much time for questions, but if there is any question, please, I'll leave a few minutes for that before we go into practical, because obviously in practical we need enough time for that. So I don't know if there may be a question for any one of them, whether they didn't have clarity on anything that they spoke about. And also, I was also thinking about this may not be relating to script writing entirely, but I don't know if filmmakers deal with storyboarding.
But Sam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Do you get the question she asked?
Okay, sorry, please, can you come again?
Yeah, I was thinking about whether will filmmakers also deal with storyboarding,
Yeah.
because that kind of like similar to like planning shots and stuff like that.
In fact, it's one of the things that I
Yes.
always advocate for, especially as a filmmaker who intends to grow. Storyboarding. In fact, any director who did not, many people think storyboarding, you must have it maybe in picture, in animations, you must you must know. It may be an exercise book. You may craft an exercise book for a start, but storyboard serves as a guide for each of your scene. It tells us placement of where your character is, environment they are, and what have you. But I don't want to be too, where we say majority of maybe our directors, may seems to be a bit lazy these days to go that extra mile. There's the assumption that it's in my head. I'll be able to create it as I feel. No. So storyboarding is essential in filmmaking. And we do it, the top directors do it, because it gives us a clear perspective of how each scene will go. And
Yes.
in the storyboard, we'll be able to see the different elements, our characters, their environment, how it's going to look, their movement, maybe where they come in, where they are exiting, key notable things in their environment. So what better thing can be much more than that? But, in this part of our world, where once everybody have the script, is about, yeah, let's go on set. No. So storyboarding has different elements. The writers will sit with the director, with the DOP, and even the art director.
Yes.
Then action out how each scene will look, even before calling the first action. So I think it's an important thing for us to embrace. And, if we want to grow, and as writers too, we can also inculcate that as part of an element of our, niche or area, which gives us advantage, especially for us to write a storyboard for each of our scenes. I think that's what I would just say on that.
All right.
Thank you, sir. I don't know if I can add something too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that extensive clarification. You see, storyboarding, it's a point where the script writers, the director, and the principal photographer comes to meet. It helps to save time in production time. When it is crafted either on a sheet of paper, it is easier. It's not like a football coach who have drawn the diagram of the pitch, and I want the striker to move from the left flank or from the right flank. It shows a graphical description of what is communicating verbally. It will also involve camera angles. Please, we are all filmmakers, and I know we are going to do great films tomorrow. Now, hear me. I've observed that too many times that actors, directors, and crew members get on set, they end up wasting time on choosing the type of camera angles. Sometimes they shoot too much shots that are not needed in the post-production time. Why? Because they did not do this storyboarding. In this storyboarding, you will be able to tell your DOP where you want the camera to come from. How many shots you are taking in every scene. They need to be able to sit down and let them know what you want to do. Just like a coach, like I told you, trying to show what you're expecting from the footballers on pitch, depending from their role. I think that's just what I want to add. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just asked that because for animators, we work closely with storyboards quite differently to the way filmmakers may work with. That's because for us storyboards are mostly done by storyboard artists, while the creative director can just give like an overall kind of direction to how each scene should be and how each camera angle should be. But it's mostly done by storyboard artists, people who actually have that specific skill for planning the visuals. So I thought that whether that would be a similarity for filmmakers, especially for knowing the camera angles and particular movements and also timing, so to help plan the overall film as well, apart from writing scripts where dialogue is written and each description are also made. So yes, thank you for the answer and also the impactful sessions. So I'll hand it over to you. I don't know which one of you are handling the practical session.
Okay. But Sam, are you there?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. The practical section has what's it called? The students need to write a log line and character synopsis for a chosen idea. I want them to choose an idea now. They don't need to tell us everything. By their log line written will reflect what the story is all about. And the character synopsis. When I started, I said something about synopsis. It's a brief summary of all what the narrative is all about, or the narration. Logline is one sentence, concise summary of what the synopsis is all about. Don't forget. So it means that it's like doing a full film and a short film, a feature-length film and a short film. So it is more difficult to write a log line than to write a synopsis. So now I'm just saying this to buttress the fact that logline and synopsis have something in common, but one is more extensive while one is more concise. So the first, they are going to be getting an idea on their own. Let's not give them an idea. But Sam, I believe you have a story, you have something you want them to work on, if possible. I don't know if you can hear me now. But Sam, are you there? Okay. I guess it's
I think
fine.
his interest is kind of like going on and off as well, even when he was speaking.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
I said, do you have any story, any brief story you want to give them generally to work on?
Okay, I thought for I thought maybe they will bring for us to help flesh out
Because
So,
the reason why I'm thinking we
should
should
we
have
create
one
a story?
so that we judge. Yes, this is why I'm thinking so that we judge when they are writing a synopsis, a character synopsis, and a logline. We judge. It's the same story we are giving everybody, so we judge based on what they are able to come up with.
Okay, so am I giving an idea of synopsis now or story?
Just give a random story. They will expand it to a synopsis and a logline.
Okay. How about we talk about, okay, that's true. They will give it a title and maybe write a logline. Okay. How about we do about a story of a 16-year-old girl who has a dream of becoming a medical doctor? But, there are some places in the Sahel region and the northern side, where our father is indebted to someone, and the father's debt forces her into marriage, early marriage that she did not, not interested in. But, over the time, even in Africa, there is this philosophy and culture where people, in attempt to pay off their debt, give their daughter either as a servant or even in marriage to a wealthy older man. So she was stripped of her freedom and education. She endured abuse, and neglect, while her family, watch helplessly. So can we craft something about her? In the end, maybe the parent feels some sense of guilt, and which left a deep scar that was left by poverty and maybe cultural oppression in their family. So I don't know if from here we can craft a log line and a brief synopsis and give it a title. And then we know that, okay, we've been able to come up with something.
And also before that, can you once again make it clear what's the difference between synopsis and logline, or people may not be sure
Okay,
what
long
it
line is more or less like a one sentence, statement that tells everything about your story, about your script in one sentence. While a synopsis is like a summary of your story it's more or less like, like when we are writing a project in school, we have what we call abstract. So a synopsis is more or less like an abstract. So, but for academic setting, they can say abstract is like a 400 word or thereabout. But in storytelling, a synopsis should range between, let's say 100, lesser than that. So that synopsis captures a story. It reveals our character, what is happening to our character, what is our character seeking to achieve, and the resolution, without telling the audience exactly how we finally resolve so that they can watch the movie. So that's what a synopsis is all about. So a synopsis can be more or less like a paragraph, while a long line is just a one sentence description of our story.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that was understood, and also the story. I wanted to type it out as well, but I missed out on some things that you said as
I
well.
think I picked few points here that might help them. The story of a girl, 16-year-old girl, a story of a 16-year-old girl who had a dream of becoming a doctor. She's from the Sahara region. These people that believe that women are created to be married. She was stripped of her freedom and education. In the end, the parents, um, the parents, in the end, the parents finally had a sense of regret, because that created a dent to their image and it affected their prosperity level. They end up became very poor because by destiny, that child is supposed to become the limelight to the family. I don't know if I've been able to communicate. I just picked
Yeah.
a few points that should guide your writing.
Yeah. Just the last part. Now,
Yes.
it was not a situation, they didn't run into poverty because of they were being poor from the beginning. It is this
Okay.
perception that they now realize that the deep scar that was left by poverty and cultural oppression, in the sense that if they had not
Yes.
been poor, if they had not been indebted, they wouldn't have a reason to give their young girl out in early marriage, someone who has the hope of becoming a medical doctor.
Yes. Okay. It's true. I love that too.
Yeah.
Mm. So, Mr. Sajo
How many
Olakunle, you want
minutes
to
do
say
we have
something?
for this?
Just type to that a little bit again.
Yes, I said, how many minutes do we have for this?
Oh, I'll give about, let's say, 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll see what we come up with within that time. I'm okay. So, can everyone still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We only have like about 10, 13 minutes left. So, I don't know if Olakle wants to share what he came up with, came up with for that prompt. If he came up with a log line and a synopsis for that.
All right. Thank you very much. So there are many pictures in my head. There are a lot of things in my head, but let me say this. So, should I paste it or I should talk?
Um, Anyone you want to, it's up to you. You can say
Okay.
it if you want to.
Okay. Um, okay. Let me talk. For the title, I have different title for it. You can call it Shattered Dream, Shattered Dream, or the um I don't I don't know how to craft this. The the price for ignorance also. Also. So for the log line, I will say, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Okay. For the log line, I will say when a parent death force her into unplanned marriage, a promising 16-year-old Saharan girl must watch her dream become of becoming a doctor shattered until the tragic consequences force her parents to confront the true cost of their choice. That will be the log line. And the synopsis, so is just to expand the log line. And like they said, it will be a story uh, of a promising lady, small girl, who was deprived of her childhood, of her education, of her dream, and because of the parents uh, being indebted to a man, a malam, I will call now a malam, uh, who is respected in the community, uh, and they now have to like see her as the currency to pay for the debt of their owing the man, and to settle that, to settle the score, they have to give her in marriage to the man to be a wife to the man, and she having a dream of becoming a doctor and inscribing so many things on the pages of her textbooks that I will become a doctor one day, I will become a doctor one day. And now this unplanned marriage now came and shattered her dream, which she doesn't want to be involved in such a marriage. Going to the man's house, she was disobedient. Her mind wasn't there because all her life she wants to be a doctor, and unfortunately, uh, she she was pregnant. She became pregnant in the 6 months of marriage and became an unplanned mother. From unplanned married to unplanned mother. And after getting the pregnancy, after 9 months, she went into labor, and unfortunately, she couldn't give birth to that child on her own, and she died on a theater. And and she was buried with a child beside her, that they have to remove the child from her, and and, the, and that dream was so shattered, and the parent now had a regret and kneeling on the grave and asking for forgiveness. Okay, that's what I can come up with.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Also thinking about that and computer exercise. I feel like the log line should have been a little bit short. I don't know if Mr. Samuel will have something else to say about that. But like obviously the story will be more explained in the synopsis, but like the log line should be shorter. Even I didn't think of a title, but like what came into my head was like Lost Hope, Lost as a title. But your title actually was good as well. And the log line that I have here as well is a determined 16-year-old girl whose dream to become a medical doctor was shattered due to forced marriage to ease her parents' family hardship. But like I didn't come up with a synopsis, but like the way your synopsis actually what's it called explains the story as well, kind of like a good idea. I don't know if you have any feedback for that, Mr. Samuel.
Yes, beautiful tries, and it was a great exercise, and I was really impressed that we could craft a story around what we just developed. And I think just as Ms. Victoria said, logline is basically supposed to be one sentence. It could be shorter. And one of the things I see that is quite uniform from all what we say is, and I will first want to talk about it. There is no crime in us giving this character a name. So I see my brother, when he was talking, the 16 years ago, I was like, what a lovely synopsis. Now imagine we name that character that maybe Grace, a 16 years old Grace. A 16 years old Grace dreams of becoming a doctor. So that is another component we could inculcate into our synopsis. In our synopsis, as he was talking about our father gave her a marry, we could as well give the name to the father. 16 years old Grace dreams of becoming a doctor was shattered, due to her father's deference to marriage with maybe Alhaji Abubakar, for example, a wealthy old man. So those character name specific is also a little element that could help make our synopsis interesting. And then for the long line, we could as well just talked about a determined 16 years old Asia forced to marry to repay her father's debt, fight for her dream and dignity, exposing the brutal cause of that tradition. It could come in different from, but it could just be just one sentence. A determined 16 years old girl forced into marriage to repay her father's debt, is made to whatever, and that is it. So it doesn't have to reveal much. It doesn't have to expose too many things. It just brings us into the world of the girl story. So, for example, who is the character? That's logline now we are constructing. We talk about a determined 16 years old girl. That is our character. What happened to her? What happened to our character? Forced into early marriage to repay her father's debt. And then how did our character end? This exposed this, and that's the log line. So in simple terms, our character, what happened to our character? How we should navigate the story. So when we have that in mind, it will help our log line to be very shorter. So if we want to talk about our character, are we just revealing her name, her age? Then what happened to her in 3, 4 words? And then how she navigate 3, 4 words. So before you know it, that makes up one sentence. So it makes it shorter. And then for synopsis too, we can divide it into an outline from the beginning, the same philosophy for logline, but just that we can tell more about who is our character now in synopsis. Or a 16 years old Grace dreams of becoming a doctor due to this. Then what happened to our character still in the synopsis now? We can expand more on what happened to her. Yes, she was given marriage to this man, reason for this, why she was given first marriage and all that. Then the last bit of our synopsis, how we should navigate the. So in the synopsis, it's not necessary for us to say later she finally returned to her father and then everything goes going. Then it doesn't make it interesting. So we can leave it in cliffhanger. For example, when she's finally cast out, her father Git revealed the deep scars left behind by poverty. Simple. So our audience will be willing to, engage to watch the movie to actually see how she navigates that period of guilt and deep scars that are befalling her. So I think, but that was a wonderful try by all of us. Our titles were interesting, Lost, and then Shattered Dream. Those are captivating titles that could also help push our story.
Thank you very much. And yes, I think that's all that we have for today. I don't know if Mr. Amos want to add anything before
Yes. Thank
close.
you so much. I don't know if you can, thank you so much for that, bro Sam. So sorry. I never knew I disconnected. I had to go and check again. Um, I think that exercise actually tell us the fact that everyone here has been following. But one thing I want to say about synopsis is, as a contemporary script writer, especially when you're not writing script for investors, me for sometimes I don't put synopsis in my script as a beginning. Although it's good so that your characters can have a background story. They might be privileged to ask any questions and have through that they will know the theme and the beats of the story. But sometimes I do it intentionally because I I want the cast to be able to go through all the story. We have some lazy cast, we have some lazy directors. They just check the synopsis, then the next thing they do is to go to their own role. Some of the cast, the part they're acting. So what am I trying to say in essence is that it depends. It depends. Many people, instead of writing synopsis, they put the whole story, full gist about the whole story before the script. So sometimes you might not need to write, if you don't know how to write a good log line, you might not need to write all the synopsis. Let the people discover things through the script themselves. Like the actors, they should be able to read everything about the script, so they will know what the script is all about for them to now major on their role, talking about character analysis. So that's one thing I do. I don't know if Mr. Sam can agree to that, but don't mind me. But one thing about log line, you also need to know log lines most times help to sell your film. Yes, it's part of what you see some films, some film posters down the right the log line is to attract like a teaser, to attract the audience to whet their appetite a little bit so they can anticipate the movie. Say, wow, I love this log line. I need to watch this film. You see. So most times log lines is used on the publicity materials that publicize the movie, so that it will be able to attract viewers. So that's the little I want to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for that, and I appreciate you guys' time to be here today to talk about script writing and filmmaking. Hopefully we'll have more workshops where we kind of go into different areas, and I know that you had limited time to really talk about some certain stuff that you want to talk about. So probably in any other workshop that we may organize, we may have different areas that you can really dig into to have more information in regards to how to produce good films. So that is what we have time today. Once again, I appreciate the both of you being here today to speak here, and also our attendee as well for being here to also learn, gain skills and knowledge of script writing. So this is the last workshop we'll have for the year as well, until like next year we'll organize more events like this, and where people can develop their skills or upskill in different areas they do want to, especially in film and animation, which kind of like our core areas in Kehillah Studios. So, and like I said, we have some of us already know that we have a community on WhatsApp, where we have like uh network of African creators around the world in UK, Nigeria, Ghana, different countries, where people can network, share their work, and get feedback on their work as well. And if they need help for anything, they can also reach out for anybody that they can kind of collaborate with for anything that they're working on. And we also organize different sessions like this throughout the year. Like we just finished our festival last month, which we hopefully should have another one for next year as well. So yes, so that's pretty much it for today. I appreciate you guys once more and hope you anticipate for other workshops we may have. So thank you very much. See you guys next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Amos. Thank you, Mr. Sam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you so much,
Mr.
guys.
Lakunle, for your time. Please,
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Thank
Lakunle, are you a filmmaker? Are you a scriptwriter?
you. No, I'm an animator.
Oh, that's cool. But you also have you need these ideas. We have to
Wow.
diversify.
Yes.
Animation sometimes, we as humans, especially depending on the region, those in the Western world, they might understand language of animation. But we in
Yes.
Africa, you have to see how you can transfer your animation to what they can really see. They can really touch the material part of it. So you can also diversify. While you have the animation part of the film, you also have the normal movie so that
Yes.
you can reach out to more people because the goal is to reach out to people.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. More grace.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a wonderful weekend.
And
All
you
right,
too,
thank
please.
you too. Bye-bye.
Victoria, God bless you. Thank you for the invite. Take care of
Thank you.
yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Miss Victoria. Bye.
Bye.